In harsh 1885 Montana, a desperate husband sells his pregnant wife for $1 like cattle to the highest bidder. Emma Winters stands barefoot on the auction block, her life hanging in the balance, as a mystery single parent offers to buy her freedom. Emma smelled sweat, dust, and desperation in the hot Montana air first. Standing alone on the wooden auction board, her bare feet burned the August sun-baked planks. A sea of interested faces turned toward her, like ravenous crows in the Blackwater Creek Plaza crowd. His voice cracking, her husband Walter shouted $1 for 6 months of service, holding up a hastily painted sign. Emma's hands trembled as she shifted her tattered dress over her swelling tummy. At 7 months, the infant kicked her ribs in protest of this humiliation. Walter promised her success when they left Ohio 3 years ago. He sold her like a broken plow horse. Sheriff Tate moved through the gathering, his badge shining. "You can't sell your wife in winter. It's illegal," Walter said, wiping sweat from his flushed cheeks. "I'm not selling my wife. Selling domestic service, lodging, and board contracts." His hand tapped the paper, drawing it legally. "Check with Judge Parker if you doubt me." The old sheriff looked at Emma with sympathy before turning away. The law couldn't help her now. She cooks and cleans better than others. Walter sold with desperation and education. Reads and writes, $1 bid. The crowd shuffled uncomfortably. Some glanced aside, others whispered with hands raised. Emma saw Mrs. Miller, the banker's wife, gripping her reticule closer as she drew her daughter away. The crowd shouted, "Nobody's buying trouble, Winters." Walter replied, "Just debt to settle." Memory flooded Emma as she closed her eyes. The failed mining claim, borrowed money, and empty bottles, as Walter drowned his failures. He told her his idea last night. He said this was the only way out of the hole he dug, eyes downcast. $2, said a back voice. Emma opened her eyes. The crowd dispersed to expose Red Rose saloon owner Harlan McGrew. As he grinned at her, his thin mustache twitched as his gaze followed her belly curve. "An attractive woman could serve drinks until she dies," McGrew added, making some males titter. "Clean rooms afterward." Everyone knew what Red Rose rooms required cleaning. Another voice said $3. Tall, broad-shouldered man stepped forward. He dressed like a homesteader, unlike the townies. Strong pants, a worn but clean shirt, and dirt-covered boots. A 5- or 6-year-old girl stood by him. Her trusting hand was in his. Hayes gave $3. Walter announced, fired up, "I hear for?" McGrew spat tobacco juice into the dirt. $4, $5, Hayes immediately replied. The child whispered while tugging at her father's sleeve, making him kneel down. He nodded to what she stated, softening before hardening again as he faced McGrew. Hayes insisted on $6. Last offer. The saloon proprietor viewed Hayes coldly. "Paying too much, Hayes. Not worth the trouble she'll cause." 7, Widow Carson, boarding house manager, spoke. "I need laundry assistance." Emma's heart raced. The widow was fair but severe. It might not be. McGrew snapped $10. "Hit that widow." While shaking her head and stepping back, Mrs. Carson's lips formed a narrow line. Heavy hush swept across the square. Hayes stayed still while Walter watched him expectantly. He saw the girl's face. Walter phoned 10 at once, going twice. Quietly, Hayes said 15. McGrew swore. "She's not worth $15, you know." "I think you'll give me her," Hayes said evenly. Walter's amazement was obvious. Most guys earn nearly a month with $15. Ethan Hayes bought it for $15. The crowd dispersed. Entertainment ended. Emma stood transfixed on the platform, unsure what would happen. Hayes approached with the girl in his grasp. He addressed the child as Miss Lucy. "Introduce yourself to Mrs. Winters." Girl stepped forward, a rag doll in her free hand. She sincerely introduced herself as Lucy Hayes. "My father. He claims you'll live with us. Safe space is needed." Emma saw Hayes count pennies into Walter's eager hand. "Correct?" she asked, finally speaking. "Selling a safe place?" Hayes turned to her after the deal. "Mrs. Winters, I'm not selling, just offering." He offered his hand to lower her from the stage. "You decide whether to accept." Walter took the money and ran toward the saloon without looking back. Emma regarded Hayes's powerful, calloused hand. "Why?" she whispered. He replied simply that Lucy needs care while I work our timber claim. "I think you should have your baby somewhere other than McGrew's saloon's back room." A choice. Last time somebody offered her that, we have chickens. Lucy added helpfully. Also, a garden. Papa made me a swing. Emma saw McGrew calculatingly eyeing them across the square. Hayes's offering had to be superior. She stepped off the auction block with her hand in his. Take charge, Mr. Hayes. They heard muttering as they approached a wagon at the edge of town. Hayes buys a pre-made family. Martha, just 3 years in her grave. A nameless infant will be born. Hayes carefully loaded Emma into the wagon and raised Lucy to sit beside her. The kid instantly showed Emma her rag doll, talking about its name and her homemade clothing. Emma looked back at the auction block where Walters's poorly painted cash signs still shone as they left Blackwater Creek. A stranger bought her for $15, a man who bought her contract for reasons other than housework. When the wagon hit a rut, she lost her thoughts. A life was unknown for this silent dad and his chattering daughter. Walter and his marriage breakdown were the hind. Emma guarded her belly. Ethan Hayes paid $15 for her service. Could he realize that she now possessed a fiery determination he hadn't paid for? Mother's determination to protect her child's future at all costs. Golden in the late afternoon light, the wagon climbed a modest rise and revealed Ethan Hayes' homestead. Smoke drifted from a small home with a stone chimney in a pine forest. A modest barn, poultry coop, and construction site were nearby, just sky-facing framework. Lucy boasted, "That's our house. Papa built it." Emma nodded, her throat tight with an unnamed sensation. After years in Walter's small mining shack, the little farmstead was clean, organized, and well-maintained. Lucy pointed to an old mare tethered beside the hut as Miss Abigail remained. "When Papa goes to town, she stays with me." The child's remarks attracted an older woman with silver hair and a tight bun to the doorway. She watched their approach with distrust, shading her eyes from the sun. "Actually, you did," she called as Ethan stopped watering the horses. "You bought a woman. Mrs. Winters will help with Lucy in the house," Ethan said evenly, hopping off the wagon. "That's all." Miss Abigail repeated doubtfully, staring at Emma's large belly. "When she dies, what happens?" "We'll manage," Ethan murmured, aiding Lucy before helping Emma. Emma accepted his help as usual, noting how carefully he supported her weight as she fell. He supported her till her feet reached firm ground with harsh but compassionate hands. Lucy rushed to hold Emma's hand. "Check out my room. Until Papa builds yours, you'll share." Emma asked Ethan and continued when I said Walter Winters wanted to sell his wife's contract. Nodding toward the half-built structure, he explained, "Just 2 weeks till it's ready." Emma asked if you planned. Something flared on his face. Possible discomfort. Plan to assist someone. Miss Abigail snorted, always saving. "Are you Ethan Hayes?" Lucy pulled Emma's hand. "Let me show you my dolls." "First, let Mrs. Winters breathe," Ethan chastised softly. She had a rough day. Emma whispered that yesterday was worst. "My husband informed me that he was auctioning me." Only the sound of chickens scratching in the yard shattered the silence. Miss Abigail's expression relaxed. "At least come inside," she urged. "Dinner about ready. You appear to have gone weeks without eating." Emma was surprised by the cabin's warmth and order. The main room was a kitchen and living area with a stone fireplace, a strong table with 4 chairs and bookshelves. More books than Emma's seen since leaving Ohio. Main room has 2 doors, likely to bedrooms. "Clean your hands and prepare the table, Lucy," Miss Abigail informed. "Mr. Hayes, fetch water for tea." Emma was left alone with the elder woman after both gave in. "The story he told you is unknown," Miss Abigail whispered, stirring a pot of something delectable over the fire. "Since burying Martha 3 years ago, Ethan Hayes hasn't seen a woman. Or stop getting ideas. Miss Abigail, my sole plan is to survive till this baby arrives." Emma answered, one hand protecting her tummy. "I want my child to have a better life than I have." The older woman nodded after studying her. "Fair enough." Emma received a plate stack. "Lucy puts these in odd locations. Top shelf, please." Emma had set the table and taught Lucy how to fold napkins into birds, a skill her grandmother taught her, by the time Ethan arrived with a bucket of fresh water. "Look, Papa," Lucy exclaimed, grasping her sloppy attempt. "I'm learning sophisticated things from Mrs. Winters." Ethan smiled, changing his seriousness. "Is it? Miss Lucy, that bird is great. Supper was easy. Early apple stew with cinnamon, rabbit stew, and cornbread." Emma thought it was a feast after months of Walter's erratic food. She ate carefully, aware of those who assumed she wouldn't notice. Lucy's curiosity, Miss Abigail's reservations, a deliberate, inscrutable glance from Ethan. "Where's Mrs. Winter's family?" After eating, Miss Abigail asked. "Emma." Her correction was gentle. "Call me Emma." She put down her spoon. "I was 17 when my parents died of fever. My aunt in Columbus housed me." She shrugged when Walter suggested we go west to find success. "Felt adventurous, some adventure," Miss Abigail muttered. "Not always, Walter." Emma paused, aware of Lucy's attention. After the mind failed, everything grew harder. Miss Abigail stated men make numerous reasons for meanness. Hard times show what's already there. Ethan swallowed. "Time to clear the table, Lucy." After Lucy fell asleep, Miss Abigail stayed in Ethan's room. He said he'd sleep in the barn. Emma sat alone on the small porch, watching the stars arise. Ethan arrived with tea. "I thought you would need this." Emma mumbled thanks and took the cup. "I wish to clarify our agreement." Leaning against the porch rail, he said, "Contract says 6 months of service. I just anticipate that. You can leave or stay after that. After the baby arrives, we'll manage," repeating his former statements. "I brought foals and calves. Miss Abigail has delivered half the county's children. We'll get you through." Emma drank tea and watched him over the rim. "Mr. Hayes, why did you buy my contract?" Looked away at the half-built extension. "Lucy hasn't had female influence since her mother died. I understand the urge for a second opportunity. Is that it? A second chance. Don't we all want that?" He straightened, wiping dust from his pants. "Mrs. Winters, rest. Tomorrow is close enough to decide how we'll operate together." Emma called after him as he approached the barn. "My name is Emma." He looked back over his shoulder. In response, Ethan offered, "Good night, Emma." Emma carefully climbed onto Lucy's small trundle bed without waking her. She felt the baby move as she stroked her belly. Her unborn kid heard her whisper, "We're secure for now." However, a persistent concern followed her to sleep. Walter never gave anything up easy. $15 might satisfy him now. But what if the money ran out? Ethan Hayes bought another man's pregnant wife. What kind of man? Safe, she told her child. Emma knew not to trust safety too much in Montana Territory's wilderness as winter approached and her child's delivery approached. Owls called in the dark outside. A youngster slept quietly while Emma's heart grew a new life. Tomorrow would provide issues. For tonight, she would embrace the weird new refuge and its cautious promise. Hope worth far more than $15 that released her. Dawn broke with Lucy's laughing. The little child was dressed when Emma opened her eyes. Her face was on the window. "Snowing, Miss Emma." The first snow. Indeed, delicate white flakes slid past the window, blanketing the yard in white. 1 week had gone since Emma arrived at the Hayes homestead. 7 days of simple routines that comforted unexpectedly. By firelight, Lucy gathered eggs, kneaded bread, and mended garments while practicing letters. Snow signals winter. Importantly, Lucy said, "Papa says we must finish getting ready." Emma rose, her back throbbing from the small trundle bed. Each day, the baby got heavier. "Then we should help him, right?" Ethan fried salt pork on the stove in the main room. Emma salivated at the aroma. Looking up, he said, "Morning. Sleep soundly." Snowflakes and Miss Abigail with packages burst through the door before she could respond. "Avoid standing still," she snapped. "Please help me before the snow destroys them." Emma took a chair near the fire while Ethan rushed to take the gifts. Emma soon discovered Miss Abigail had her own agenda, even if she wasn't due to visit until tomorrow. Miss Abigail unwrapped the first parcel to see warm flannel. "For baby." Looked at Emma's bulging belly. "Others you'll need." Emma reverently caressed the fabric. "Can't accept. Not a present." Abigail interrupted. "Payment. I need preserving help. These ancient hands have changed. I'll see you tomorrow to pay off the bill." Pride disguised as practicality. Emma realized how the older woman helps without being charitable. "Thank you." Her words were simple. Miss Abigail nodded coldly. "Let's monitor that addition. A child requires a birthplace." Ethan returned to cooking, saying nearly done. "Another day or two." "Best make it one," Miss Abigail said, scrutinizing Emma. "The baby rides low. Not long now." Emma's face warmed. Openly discussing her situation seemed unusual. Lucy pulled her hand after Walter's ashamed silence for months. "Can we create a baby blanket today? Using new cloth." Emma promised after chores. Please assist your father finish that room first. Early snow kept the day busy. Emma and Lucy took the last garden root veggies to the root cellar before Frost could get them as Ethan worked on the extension. Emma needed numerous breaks due to heavy breathing. I'm slowing you, she apologized to Lucy during a pause. A young girl solemnly shook her head. Papa says infants are hard effort before birth. Mamas are the strongest because of that. Emma blinks back tears. Papa is wise. By noon, the snow had ceased, leaving the world quiet and pristine. Emma admired Ethan's efforts at the new addition's doorway. A modest room with rustic walls, yet sound and comfortable, with an east-facing window for morning light. She said it's great as he installed the door. He said, not finished with the furnishings, wiping sweat from his brow despite the cold. Bed frame assembly required. A farm chest of drawers to bring, never expected. Emma paused. Walter stated, you bought my 6-month contract without providing a lodging for me and my child. Ethan fixed the door hinges without looking at her. Child deserves a good start and space. Emma watched him work methodically and precisely. So different from Walter's rash initiatives that always failed. You built this before? The hands of Ethan paused before you knew me. I've been meaning to add for Lucy. Emma spotted fresh-cut lumber and freshly mixed mortar between the little hearthstones. This work was recent and intentional. A wagon's approach stopped her thoughts. She noticed a familiar figure in the driver's seat through the glass. Walter, her heart raced as she breathed. Following her gaze, Ethan straightened. He dropped his tools and left without saying a word. Emma waited at the doorway while Walter's wagon stopped in the yard. Lucy raced to her father's side, sensing anxiety but not knowing why. Walter descended shakily. Emma could see he'd been drinking from afar. Come inspect my investment. Walter slurred his call. Ethan answered firmly, your business is with me, not Mrs. Winters. Give your reason. Walter took a crumpled paper from his pocket. Contract lets me inspect property. Make sure she works. Emma entered the yard with one hand over her belly. I'm here, Walter. Stop talking around me. Walter narrowed his eyes and looked at her, seeming comfortable for a sold woman. Emma replied that Mr. Hayes bought my service, not my person, shocked by her calmness. You may not, but the law does. Walter laughed at the law. When did you become an expert? Since I started reading Mr. Hayes' books instead of hiding them like you made me. She was furious. 3 years you said learning would dissatisfy me, but it only showed me how narrow you wanted my world to be. Lucy hugged her father, eyes wide. Ethan comforted his daughter's shoulder, but kept his eyes on Walter. You see, she's fine, Ethan remarked. I propose leaving. Walter swayed slightly. Maybe I changed my mind. Buybacks were added to contracts. At twice the selling price, Ethan noted. You have $30? Holding her breath, Emma, if Walter had that much money, his face would have reddened. I will soon, made a northern claim. Funding next week from partners. Ethan said to return with the money. Mrs. Winters remains till then. A tense hush followed. The baby shifted inside Emma in response to her dread. What if Walter found money? The notion of seeing him made her sick. We'll return. Walter uncomfortably climbed into his wagon and remarked, You can trust it. He drove away, leaving dark tracks in the snow. Emma whispered, He's lying about the new claim. Just another story of his. Ethan nods. Expected that. Lucy pulled Emma's skirt. Will you travel with him? Emma kneeled cautiously, looking at the child's concern. No, Lucy. I'm staying with you and your dad. Promise. Emma hesitated, knowing she couldn't promise the uncontrollable. Lucy. Ethan gently intervened. Finish bringing in the furniture. Storm's not over. New snowflakes fell, corroborating his comments. They rushed inside to escape the cold and Walter's presence. While Lucy slept, Emma and Ethan sewed baby garments from Miss Abigail's fabric at the kitchen table. Outside, steady snowfall changed the world. Emma said, You'll have to let me go if he returns with the money. Ethan put his harness down to repair it. I bought your contract because you deserve choice. I won't stop you from returning to him. I didn't mean that. Emma's needles stopped mid-stitch. Would you fight his legal action? Yes. Emma looked up in amazement at the simple word's conviction. Ethan stared at her. I'd fight. Emma's chest grew heated. Trust may be the first sign of love. Snow continued to fall, covering the homestead in white and Walter's traces until they disappeared. Nighttime blizzards howled around the cabin's edges like living things. Emma woke up in darkness and anguish, gasping from seizures. She froze, hoping it would pass. The blanket was soaked as warm liquid flowed between her thighs. "No," she muttered, panicking. "Not yet. Not during the storm." She suffered another, sharper agony. Emma swallowed back a cry to avoid waking Lucy. She carefully got out of bed, searching for the lantern. Her fingers trembled as she struck a match, lighting a faint flame. Ethan looked worried as the door cracked open. "Hear something. Are you okay?" Emma grabbed the bedpost during another contraction. "The child is arriving." Concern turned to determination in Ethan's face. "I'll wake Lucy. Get her dressed. Get Miss Abigail." Emma gasped as the contraction peaked in this storm. "No going outside. Simply must," he muttered, waking his daughter. "Lucy, dear, get up. Move Mrs. Winters to her new room." Little girl blinked sleepily. When she observed Emma's agony, her eyes widened. "Is baby coming?" "Yes," Ethan said gently. "Please be brave and aid Mrs. Winters while I find Miss Abigail." "Papa, I'll survive the storm," he reassured her while dressing her. "Mrs. Winters needs your strength now." Emma watched their interaction through agony, touched by Ethan's loving firmness with his daughter. She was confident in her capacity to aid without shouting or irritation. Emma entered the finished room with Lucy's help. The bed was made with fresh bedding after being built quickly yesterday. Ethan placed logs to the little fireplace while Lucy fetched more blankets. Ethan informed her kettle heats. "Lucy understands to add water when boiling. That chest has clean clothes." Emma nodded, contracting again. "Do not go alone. No choice." He donned his bulky coat. "Lucy, remember our practice? If I'm not back by daylight, check the signal fire and visit Mr. Peterson." Child recited. "But you'll return. You always return." Knelt. Ethan briefly touched his forehead to his daughter's. "It is. Always." He faced Emma. "Trust Lucy, or she's young but stable." After that, he left. He closed the door, sending Emma a cold unrelated to her labor. The storm raged, shaking windows like fists. Lucy took Emma's. "Do not worry. Papa can find blindfolded Miss Abigail. He claims to have found it in the moonlight. Pain-filled hours." Lucy brought water, wiped Emma's forehead, and spoke effortlessly despite her age. Emma wondered between contractions what sort of mother had raised such a self-possessed child, and what kind of father had cultivated those qualities after her death. Emma inquired about your mother during a break. Lucy paused, organizing clean clothing. "I barely recall her. Papa says she laughed a lot and had yellow hair like me. She sounds nice. Papa claims she gave him me last before going to paradise." Lucy's little face got serious. "Is your baby a gift?" Emma was heartbroken by the question. Walter always saw their child as an inconvenience. Another eater, she said yes forcefully, the finest gift. The storm subsided by daybreak, but Ethan and Miss Abigail were gone. Emma labored harder, faster contractions, harder. Lucy gulped between aches. "The baby may be coming shortly." The child was afraid, but Papa wasn't back. Emma repeated Ethan's remarks from days earlier. "Miss Abigail will succeed. You're brave. Little longer," Lucy acknowledged, stiffening her little shoulders. "Give me instructions." Before Emma could respond, the door flung open. Instead of Ethan or Miss Abigail, Walter stumbled in, bringing cold and whiskey. "Where's she?" With frantic eyes, he demanded. "Where's my wife?" Lucy shielded Emma from the newcomer. "My papa's gone. You should leave." Walter swayed forward. "Step aside, girl. I'm after mine." Emma fought to sit up, forgetting her discomfort for this new menace. "Walter, why are you here?" He rushed to the bedroom door, pushing past Lucy's earnest attempts to halt him. "I'll take Emma home. Got money. $30. His pocket was padded. "You can purchase back your contract." Emma grimaced as another contraction began. "You're drunk. My baby is coming. Leave now. Return sober." Walter's expression darkened as he saw her evident condition. Getting pregnant was fast. Emma would have laughed at the preposterous charge but for the agony. "Walter, this is your child. You never wanted." "I never said that. It was developing inside me when you sold me," Emma cried, fury empowering her. "Priced us both at $1. Walt's face twisted, desperate. It was your debt, Emma finished. Not our kids. Lucy disappeared during their quarrel. Now she's back. Ethan's hunting rifle in her little hands. My papa taught me how to use this, she responded, shivering but resolute. Sir, leave now. Walter laughed harshly after staring at the infant. You wouldn't. She might not. Despite a new voice, I would. Miss Abigail pointed a shotgun at Walter's chest from the doorway. Behind her, Ethan surveyed the situation with homicidal intent. He calmly whispered Lucy put the rifle down, keeping his eyes on Walter. Miss Abigail handles this. Little girl complied, running to her father who lifted her protectively. Mr. Winters, Miss Abigail said coldly, you chose the wrong day and house for this stupidity. Walter gestured, wheedling, just come to fix things. Fairly received the funds. Miss Abigail replied, selling your wife is unfair. You believe you can purchase her back like a horse you lost? Emma cried as her hardest contraction yet occurred. Ethan gave Lucy to Miss Abigail, crossed the room in 3 steps, and grabbed Walter by the collar. Outside, he instructed. The 2 men left through the door. The experienced Miss Abigail put down her shotgun and ran to Emma's side to check labor. Baby coming soon, she said. Don't waste time on that moron. Emma attempted to focus on the elder woman's directions, but she kept thinking about the fight outside. What would Ethan do? Walter was unpredictable and deadly drunk. Morning silence was broken by a gunshot. Lucy yelled. Miss Abigail froze. Emma's heart stopped and raced painfully. Stay here, Miss Abigail said, taking her shotgun. Come with me, Lucy. Emma grabbed the elder woman. Stay with me. Avoid taking Lucy outside. Miss Abigail debated safeguarding people within or investigating what happened outside. The door opened gently. Ethan was framed in the doorway, his temple cut bleeding. He merely said he left. Emma started the shot, fired crazy. He resisted when I tried to remove him. From his eye, Ethan wiped blood. No problem anymore. You didn't. She couldn't complete the inquiry. Ethan's face relaxed. Just made him realize $30 wasn't worth his life. Rides back to town. Emma felt relief and instantly wanted to push, cry out, bearing down with all her strength. Miss Abigail announced baby's arrival. Take Lucy to the kitchen, Ethan. She gasped between pushes. Please let them stay. Abigail raised an eyebrow but didn't dispute. Clean that cut and boil additional water, Ethan. Lucy, take Mrs. Winters' hand. Emma had never felt such anguish and effort. She held Lucy's small hand, getting strength from the child's steadfast support. Ethan followed Miss Abigail's brief instructions and moved softly. With heads almost out, the elder woman encouraged one more push. Emma rallied her strength and pushed. A peculiar sliding sensation, brief pain relief, then a cry. Thin and angry, yet strong. Miss Abigail said, a girl softening as she placed the bloodied, writhing baby on Emma's bosom. Emma, healthy, marveled at her daughter's pinched face. 10 fingers, 10 toes, and moist dark hair on her little head. Hello? Her tears fell as she whispered. My Grace, hello. Lucy leaned forward, amazed. Very small. Miss Abigail stated all newborns start little, quickly cleaning and wrapping the newborn. Even you. Ethan stood expressionless at the foot of the bed. Gently he repeated Grace. Emma said, good name for all we've been given, catching his eyes. Something happened between them despite everything. An insight, possibility, and unclaimed future. The storm had ended outside. Golden sunlight illuminated the new mother and child through the window. A man who had protected them drove Walter away. A new life began in Emma's arms. Grace that transcends price, not an auction block and dollar sign. Frost etched intricate patterns on window panes, turning them into crystal paintings. Emma adjusted to parenthood under the Hayes homestead's sheltering roof for 3 weeks after Grace's birth. 3 weeks of sleepless nights and wonder-filled days. Montana was cold in December, but the cabin was toasty. As Grace's small palm rested on her breast, Emma hummed quietly. She watched Lucy at the kitchen table, tongue between her teeth, creating letters in her primer from her rocking chair near the fire. Miss Emma, without seeing, Lucy called. How to spell family? The question surprised Emma and sparked feelings she wasn't ready for. Family, she spelled carefully. Lucy nodded, pencil on paper. I'm writing Santa my Christmas list. Our first goal is to make you and Grace our family forever. Emma gasped. Children may shockingly say things adults danced around. The household had settled in after Grace's arrival in the weeks following. Ethan was reliable, respecting Emma's boundaries and supportive. Miss Abigail visited often, turning her skepticism into reluctant affection. Dear Lucy had enthusiastically accepted her big sister job. No one had discussed Emma's 6-month contract's end. Snowflakes and Ethan with firewood entered through the door. His beard was iced white, cheeks red from cold, yet his eyes brightened when they met Emma and Grace. He announced storms, stomping snow from his boots. Best to remain home today. Lucy dropped her writing to unstack the wood. Papa, may we decorate for Christmas today? You promised, I delivered. Emma caught Ethan's attention. Emma grinned, placing Grace on her shoulder if Mrs. Winters was up to it. Would like that. Please, we've endured enough. Call me Emma. Just a smile changed Ethan's stern countenance. Emma, then. The day was hectic. Ethan pulled a box of precious ornaments from the rafters, each wrapped in newspaper. Lucy passionately discussed their significance while decorating a little pine tree Ethan cut and carried inside. This exquisite glass bird was Mama's, she said, Emma. The year I was born, Papa made this. Emma held Grace with one arm and helped with the other. Startled by the ritual's bittersweet joy, Martha, the family member who should have hung these decorations, was remembered. Emma softly reminded Lucy that your mother would be proud of your care for her antiques. The child smiled. Papa believes Mama can see us from heaven. Would she enjoy Grace? A door knock halted Emma before she could respond, odd given the increasing weather and distant location. Ethan grimaced and guarded the door. Hello, who? Sheriff Tate replied. Need to talk, Hayes? Emma tensed, automatically tugging Grace closer. The sheriff saw her auction but did nothing. What brought him here? The lawman was stamping snow from his boots as Ethan opened the door. Sheriff Tate curtly nodded to Emma before approaching Ethan. Town issue. Winters is complaining about his wife and child. Says you stole them. I bought Mrs. Winters' contract lawfully, Ethan said calmly. Half the town, including you, watched. The sheriff sighed and took off his hat. Contract was for her services, not child custody. He claims ownership of the infant. Emma was scared. Grace held onto her chest as she climbed. I was sold while carrying her. We weren't wanted then. He wants you now. Sheriff Tate's wrinkled face was neutral. He claims $30 to buy back your contract and a legal claim to his child. Lucy touched Emma's skirts, small distressed face. You can't take them. Now we own them. Lucy. Ethan gently suggested you retire to your room. Please, Papa. The youngster hesitantly obliged, looking over her shoulder with worry. After the door closed, Ethan turned to the sheriff. What does Winters want? Apparently sober. Become religious. Wants to reconcile with family. The sheriff shrugged. Could be real. He may have heard Widow Peterson left her property to her niece East. I think your land was next to it. Emma began to understand. The widow's acreage bordered Ethan's timber. Ethan wanted valuable water rights property for growth. He thinks you're planning to marry me, she said gently. Strengthen your claim to surrounding land. Ethan's jaw constricted. He might think that. Sheriff Tate said laws on this are ambiguous. Legal contract sale but father's child rights. Meaningfully, he paused. When does he want an answer? Ethan asks. He's giving till Christmas Eve. Says he's giving his wife the vacation with their child before exercising his legal rights. Sheriff changed his cap. Thought you deserved caution. After he left, the cabin was quiet. Grace touched Emma's shoulder, sensing stress. Finally, Ethan declared he wouldn't accept her. He spoke softly, convinced. I'll prevent that. To calm her, Emma paced and bounced. The law may favor him. Her father. A father who sold his pregnant wife for $1. Ethan clutched his sides. No court would give him that child, but could. Emma whispered her greatest dread. Man-made laws favor man. With focused eyes, Ethan crossed to her if he claimed to have reformed. A solution exists. Emma paused. Marry me. Words hovered between them, simple and powerful. As my wife, I'd guard you. Ethan continued hurriedly. My house would lawfully house Grace. No claim for Walter. You'd marry me to shield us from Walter? Emma's voice trembled. A convenience marriage? Something sparked in Ethan's eyes, an emotion swiftly hidden. I'd marry you because Lucy loves you, because Grace deserves a father who chose her, not abandoned her. You made this place feel like a home. He hesitated, then added gently, my reason for marrying you is that we could make something great. I'll admit it's not your love story. Emma examined him. This sober, noble man who had saved her before, now he offered to repeat it, connecting his and her lives forever. Despite its lack of romance, the proposal maintained value, respect, honesty, possibilities. What about Martha? Her request was gentle. His face showed pain. Martha wants a mother for Lucy, would like me to find tranquility. His breath was deep. My heart will always hold her. However, new beginnings are possible. A bedroom shriek interrupted them. Lucy may have broken down from worry. The sound influenced Emma. Yes, she said. Word emerges with unexpected precision. I'll marry Ethan Hayes, not just to shield Grace from Walter. I feel we can construct a house together. Relief lowered his face. He tentatively extended. He gently and electrically stroked her cheek with his calloused fingertips. Then Christmas Eve. We'll confirm before Walter moves. Emma stayed by the fire while Ethan comforted Lucy. Grace is peacefully napping on her shoulder. Snow kept falling outside, covering the landscape in white. Clear slate. New start. She married a man she respected but didn't love. At least not as she had hoped. Love may come from respect and gratitude. Perhaps it had started. By the fire, quietly. A baby has passed between them gently. Lucy's antics brought smiles. One thing was certain. She forbade Walter taking her daughter. Not now, not ever. Emma and Lucy arrived the next afternoon to find Blackwater Creek bustling with Christmas social preparations. They came for supplies and, more significantly, to start things. Emma stumbled approaching the general store. Memories of her square auction weeks before flooded her. It's okay, Lucy said, grasping her hand. No one will hurt you now. A haze will surround you. Children's confidence boosted Emma's boldness. She entered the store with shoulders straight, conversation-aware, dying as heads turned. The banker's wife, Mrs. Miller, approached first. Mrs. Winters and little Miss Hayes. I was surprised to see you in town. Emma looked directly at her. We're ordering wedding specialties. Christmas Eve will be my wedding to Mr. Hayes. She got what she wanted from the announcement. Emma saw Mrs. Miller's eyes expand and the news running through her head, ready to go town-wide. Mrs. Miller achieved the unexpected. What about the baby? In good health. Emma said Grace is doing well, purposefully using her daughter's name. Names gave anonymous babies rights and identities. Her christening follows the wedding. By the time they finished shopping, Emma could feel their news spreading over town. Good. Let Walter hear it from several sources. Tell him his scheme was predicted and defeated. Emma stopped and stared across the street as they left the business. Walter watched from outside the saloon. His appearance alarmed her. He appeared to have aged years in the weeks since she last saw him. His once strong body was emaciated and his clothes threadbare. To protect Emma, Lucy pressed. Is that him? Former husband? Yes, Emma whispered. Stay with me. Walter stroked his hat without approaching, maybe in respect or mockery, which Emma couldn't tell. His turn and entry inside the saloon left her shocked but unbowed. Her voice was steadier than she felt when she told Lucy, let's go home. Emma felt Walter's seeming acceptance had come too quickly as their wagon left town. Her husband was determined, especially when pride was involved. Emma promised to be ready for Walter Winter's game. You can't marry him tomorrow. The chapel's quiet was broken by Walter's voice bouncing off the bare wooden walls as Emma stood alone arranging holly branches for Christmas Eve. She spun, heart racing, to find her spouse. No, her soon-to-be ex-husband was in the doorway, she thought. The unattended stove's little heat gently melted snow from his shoulders. I'm furious you came here, Emma said, overcoming her dread. She grabbed a holly branch, its spiky leaves stinging her palm. Walter entered and closed the door. He moved steadily and had bright, sober eyes. Almost worse than drunkenness, his actions were deliberate, he remarked, removing his hat. I came to enlighten you. You and the baby belong to me, your husband. My husband who sold me for $1. Emma replied from behind a pew to keep their distance. Who sold me and his unborn child? Walter's expression showed shame, genuine, unexpected. Emma, I've wronged you, not denying. He stroked his thinning hair. I've been sober 3 weeks since Hayes threw me off his land. This claim astonished Emma, who frowned. Why now? I realized what I'd wasted after seeing you with him and our child. Walter tentatively moved forward. I've changed, Emma. Worked at Peterson's mill, stable work. Housed in town. Emma was curious despite herself. Walter, she knew, had jumped from scam to scheme, never settling down. You work at the mill? Since when? Sober now. Old Peterson gave me a chance nobody else would. Pride colored his voice, said I was numerate. Let me handle accounts. Something wasn't right with Walter, she sensed. The man who struggled to manage their scant finances. Mr. Peterson entrusts you his finances? Walter nodded, growing confidence. My skills go beyond digging holes. His son is back east, so he wants someone reliable. Emma puzzled about how this transformed man could be her husband who had sold her. You want what, Walter? Really? A second chance. His expression was genuine as he approached. I have $30 to buy your contract. Emma, I'm not buying you. I want your faith back. Be our Grace's father. Using their daughter's name? Walter couldn't know their name without asking. A chill went through Emma. You know what I named her? A flicker, calculation. Crossed his face before replying, heard in town, people talk. Emma grew suspicious. How do you know the wedding is tomorrow? Keeping the date confidential. Walter's face tensed. Not private enough. Her husband discussed it at the mill, Mrs. Miller said. Possible, Emma said. Most of Blackwater Creek's gossip came from the banker's wife. No matter, she said definitively. I'm marrying Ethan tomorrow. Grace and I live with the Hayes presently. Walter bluntly remarked, you don't love him. Emma was stunned by the forthright appraisal. It was true, not loving Ethan. She no longer loved Walter passionately. Her feelings toward Ethan differed. Gratitude, admiration, comfort. Could love blossom from that foundation? She thought it could. She said honestly, I respect him. He respects me. Never before had so much. Walter flinched like hit. Once we loved. Did we? Or did you want someone to follow your failed dreams? Emma's voice emitted long repressed emotions. Someone to cook, clean, and warm your bed while you sought gold, silver, or whatever new scheme promised quick riches? Walter flushed. I was attempting to support us. Miss Emma said no. Her realization was shockingly clear. You wanted to impress yourself. I was there, convenient. Until my pregnancy caused problems. They glared across the chapel. Years of hidden facts lie between them. Walter slumped first and broke. Not worthy of forgiveness. Know it. Our child deserves her real father. Grace needs a dad who wants her, Emma responded, who sees her as blessing, not burden. I want her now, Walter insisted. Want you both. Able to fight Hayes for you. A cold rushed through Emma. You mean what? Fight? Walter straightened. Typical stubbornness in his jaw. Received circuit judge documents. Legal claim for my child. Hayes can marry you tomorrow. Grace is joining me. Emma felt terror and wrath equally. Or you wouldn't. Watch me. Walter changed his headgear. Unless. Though she recognized his leverage, Emma demanded. Return to me voluntarily until the wedding is canceled. His boyish aspect returned, charming her. Emma, give us another opportunity. For Grace. Emma almost laughed at the obvious trickery, despite her terror. You haven't changed? Trying to control everything, everyone. Walter's face grew black. You can choose. More than Hayes gave me when he snatched you. He didn't take me, Emma raged. He restored my dignity after you took it away. Fine. Walter faced the door, attending tomorrow's ceremony, law enforcement, and my paperwork. Grace's departure partner is unknown. Emma sat on a seat, shivering, contemplating her options after he left. What if Walter's warning wasn't a bluff? Could Grace's judge give him custody? The law favored dads. She knew that. She couldn't lose her daughter. She could not return to Walter, not after Ethan's home's freedom and respect. Ethan. She had to inform him about Walter's threat quickly. Emma ran from the chapel into the crisp afternoon air, abandoning her decorating. Last-minute Christmas shoppers and evening social preparations filled the town's main street. She ran faster to reach the general store where Ethan and Lucy were buying supplies. She never saw Walter leave the alley until he grabbed her arm. One more, he said. He lost his manners. Your perception of Hayes is wrong. Ask him how he met Martha, his beloved. Emma sought to escape. Release me, Walter demanded, tightening his hold. Ask him whether he purchased her. Before Emma responds, a new voice broke the silence. Everything okay, Mrs. Winters? Miss Abigail watched from a few yards away, her sharp eyes seeing everything. Several townspeople paused behind her, watching the confrontation with open interest. Walter removed Emma's arm immediately to talk to my wife privately. Soon-to-be ex-wife, Miss Abigail pointed out, and it didn't seem private or welcome. She joined Emma's sides, connecting arms. "Come on, honey. We must prepare." Emma glanced back to see Walter staring at them, expressionless. Miss Abigail steered her quickly to Peterson's mill, where their wagon was tied. "He hurt you?" After they were gone, the older woman asked. Emma rubbed her arm where Walter's fingers sank in, but he threatened to take Grace, claiming he had judge-granted custody papers. Abigail's face stiffened. "That man has more plots than a fox in a henhouse." "What was his Martha reference?" Emma questioned, Walter's goodbye still ringing. "About Ethan buying her?" The elderly woman sighed. "Not my story, but since that snake let it slither out, she checked for privacy before continuing. To pay gambling debts, Martha's father sold her contract. Ethan worked at his father's store, like you. He acquired her contract to avert disaster, just like me," Emma whispered. "Similar circumstances, different details." Miss Abigail fixed. Martha never married. Her father sold her, not a spouse. Then Ethan had no child to raise. The wagon where Ethan and Lucy were loading supplies was reached. Ethan smiled at Emma, then sobered at her concern. "What happened?" He helped her to the wagon seat and inquired. Emma described her custody threat to Walter, watching Ethan's face darken. She hesitated before saying, "He also mentioned Martha and how you met her." Ethan froze, then secured their purchases. "See, is it true?" Emma pressed gently. "Did you buy her contract?" His shoulders sagged. "Her father sold her to pay debts. I had to stop watching." "Why didn't you say?" After helping Lucy into the wagon, Ethan climbed. "Do not want you to see a pattern. That I frequently buy women." Emma promised him she would never think that. Ethan whispered, "You should know more," his eyes on the road ahead as he led the horses out of town. "Martha and I married for convenience. Protect her, help me with the store." Emma assimilated this information. "But you loved her." Certainly, a simple, memorable word. It was quick. Love was simple with her. Hidden meaning lingered between them. Perhaps she ignored the thought, focusing on the more immediate issue, unlike Emma. "Walter promises to bring the sheriff and legal papers tomorrow." To take Grace, Ethan tightened the reins. "Let him try." "Suppose the law is on his side?" Emma's voice snapped. "Don't lose her, Ethan." The fiercely determined man turned to meet her eyes. "You won't." The rest of the trip was silent, save for Lucy's Christmas preparation queries. Emma's thoughts were full of worries and half-plans. She decided by the time they reached the homestead. Emma accompanied Miss Abigail as Ethan unloaded supplies and Lucy checked Christmas decorations. "I need to ask you," she whispered, "something crucial." As Emma explained her plea, the elder woman looked surprised and then reluctantly understood. "You're sure? When did Emma finish?" inquired Miss Abigail. "There must be another way. Emma said she couldn't see it. Please, aid me?" Miss Abigail nodded after a while, against my better judgment. However, Emma discovered Ethan alone by the fire after Lucy went to bed excited about the wedding and Christmas celebrations. Grace fell asleep in her cradle, her small hands in fists above the blanket. Emma said she was thinking about Walter's warning. Ethan glanced up from carving Lucy's Christmas gift, a little wooden horse. "I won't let him steal her," Emma whispered. "I know you'd defend her. There are many qualities I like about you, yet fighting may not be enough. Fathers generally win in court." Ethan paused his work and stated, "We'll depart. Take the kids somewhere Walter can't find us." Emma was shocked to learn he would leave his home, property, and livelihood to protect her and Grace. "You do? Leave your creations here." He stated simply that a home isn't wood and nails. People fill it. Emotion filled Emma's throat. She owed this fine, honorable man honesty. She thoughtfully offered another choice. No run option. Ethan waited patiently. "Walter offered to drop the custody claim if I returned." Ethan looked alarmed. "Absolutely not. Let me finish," Emma said steadily. "I don't want to return to him forever, but pretending to negotiate terms buys us time." "Time for what?" "Miss Abigail and I have a plan." Though no one could hear, Emma leaned forward and lowered her voice. "Judge Parker arrives tomorrow for Christmas court. Our pre-wedding social will feature him. He fought beside Miss Abigail's brother-in-law. She thinks she can get him to hear our argument before Walter presents his papers." Ethan thought about it. Exactly what case? A official request to revoke Walter's parental rights for abandonment and endangerment. Emma's voice was harsh. I was sold while pregnant with his child. That should matter, especially under father-friendly rules. Ethan's face shows hope and doubt. If the judge refuses, we execute your strategy. We depart. Emma grasped his hand. I need your trust tomorrow. Despite my odd behavior, follow me. Ethan examined their hands, then looked at her. Emma, I trust you. My home. With Lucy's joy. With my future. He lowered his tone. Please accept my heart. A straightforward statement. Perhaps something more important than a love confession. Touched Emma profoundly. She kissed his cheek gently, bending forward. She whispered, Thanks for everything. Emma felt strangely determined and peaceful as she checked on Grace before going to bed. Tomorrow would bring trials and even grief. She felt in charge of her future for the first time since Walter put her on the auction board. Emma Winters would no longer be sold to the highest bidder after the Christmas Eve ceremony. She would be a woman who knew her worth was greater than any price. Emma, you're gorgeous. Lucy circled Emma in Blackwater Creek's chapel's little rear room, gasping in fascination. Christmas Eve was clear and frosty, with sunshine flowing through frosted windows to spotlight Emma's white outfit. Borrowed from Mrs. Peterson, altered quickly by Miss Abigail's expertise. Although not a bridal gown, its elegant lines and embroidered collar gave Emma dignity she hadn't felt since leaving Ohio years before. Emma thanked the kind girl, stroking hesitant hands over the silk. Do you mind sharing your father with me? Lucy vigorously shook her head, sending her ribbon braids dancing. I requested Santa to keep you and Grace forever. I'm getting my gift early. Emma cried at the child's pure acceptance despite their circumstances. Auction block, frantic bargain, $sign. Lucy welcomed Emma with an open heart, humbled her daily. A gentle knock broke the silence. Miss Abigail entered. Grace in her arms with a worried look on her usually stern face. She quietly disclosed Judge Parker's arrival. Walter and Sheriff Tate are too. Emma's pulse accelerated. Did you talk to the judge? Briefly. His attention was granted before the ceremony. Abigail's mouth constricted. Walter caught him first. Been telling stories about reforming and getting another chance? He lied. Lucy raged. This scoundrel sold Miss Emma like a chicken. Quiet, child. Miss Abigail warned without heat. Adults handle it. Grace came from the older mother, giving Emma strength from her daughter's warmth. Where's Ethan? Keeping Walter from the judge, in the main chapel with Reverend Collins. Emma's collar was fussily fixed by Miss Abigail. Remember our plan? Judge will hear both sides and rule. If it goes wrong, Ethan and I will leave with the kids. Emma finished. Travel to Oregon. The backup plan was desperate yet vital. Emma would not let Walter take Grace, even if it meant giving up their ambitions of settling here. One more choice, Miss Abigail remarked nervously. Judge Parker suggested it may simplify. What if? If Walter officially relinquished Grace, resigned his claim? Bitterly, Emma laughed. Never will he. He uses Grace to get me back. Miss Abigail said cryptically. People can surprise you. Sometimes even Walter Winters see their better side. Before Emma could question this bizarre comment, the door opened again. Ethan was framed by the door. His Sunday suit was dust-free, slick-back hair. Emma, in her bridal dress, brightened his gloomy countenance. Sobered again. He merely said, Judge will hear us. Lucy, stay with Miss Abigail. I'll help. Child protested. Ethan knelt beside her. You aid by watching your sister. He nodded at Grace. Can Button help me? Though mutinous, Lucy nodded. Yes, Papa. Once Grace was in Miss Abigail's skilled hands, Emma breathed deeply and adjusted her outfit one more time. Ethan offered his arm, protecting and supporting. Whatever happens in there, he whispered, face it together. Emma and Ethan interrupted the quiet conversations in the main church. The tension in the room contrasted with holly boughs and pine garlands Emma's Christmas decorations from yesterday. Judge Parker's imposing figure and severe demeanor lent weight to the impromptu proceedings from a makeshift desk near the altar. Walter stood nearby, surprisingly clean and neat, with pressed clothes, trimmed hair, and a shaved face. Sheriff Tate lingered at the judge's elbow, uneasy but trying to keep order. Reverend Collins, who was due to perform the wedding in 2 hours, appeared concerned by this unexpected court intervention. Mrs. Winters, Mr. Hayes, and Judge Parker nodded curtly. Unusual circumstances bring us together this morning. Mr. Winters wants his natural child, which you have. Emma clearly stated that she is my daughter, not property. The judge's bushy eyebrows raised. Indeed, we must resolve that issue. Papers were shuffled before him. I understand Mr. Hayes bought Mr. Winters a 6-month labor contract, but the child was not mentioned. Ethan said Mrs. Winters' services were contracted. When a man sells his pregnant wife, he loses moral claim to her child. Walter advanced. I'm ashamed of my dreadful mistake, Your Honor. He spoke with humility Emma had never heard before. I was desperate, drunk, and incoherent, but I could write a contract. Dryly, Ethan noted. Judge Parker raised a hand. Each party will be heard uninterrupted. He faced Walter. By selling her contract, Mr. Winters abandoned his pregnant wife. Some consider this relinquishing paternal rights. Walter said he never intended to give up his child merely to secure finances in a tough time. I've repaired, Your Honor, found work, built a home, and quit drinking. Emma was incredulous. 3 weeks of excellent behavior can't erase years of abuse. Judge chastised Mrs. Winters. You'll get your turn, Walter said earnestly. I just want to be a parent to my daughter, to make peace with my wife. Emma corrected her ex-wife. I'm marrying Mr. Hayes today. Adding to the intricacy, Judge Parker said. Mrs. Winters, your thoughts? Emma straightened, gaining courage. I stood on an auction block in this town while my husband, the father of my unborn child, sold me to the highest bidder. Grace would likely have been born in a brothel or on the streets without Mr. Hayes. Emma proceeded to elicit murmurs from the crowd. Walter rejected this child. My pregnancy was a burden, another mouth to feed. Only after seeing me in a good family with a dignified man does he develop fatherly affections. She faced Walter. If you care about Grace, you'll keep her safe and loved. Walter looked at her with unreadable flickers. Emma saw the man she loved before ambition and drink turned him into a stranger. Parker cleared his throat. Mr. Hayes, as Mrs. Winters' contract buyer and intended husband, what do you suggest? Ethan advanced. I think children belong to their caregivers, Honor. Grace lives with her mother, Lucy, who loves her as a sister, and me. He lowered his tone. I may not be her biological father, but I've held her from birth. I'll raise her, provide for her, and protect her in my name. The judge nodded attentively and addressed Walter again. What do you want today, Mr. Winters? Walter hesitated and glanced at Sheriff Tate, who nodded just barely. Walter said he sought custody of his daughter and hoped my wife would reconsider our split. But now, Judge Parker asked. Now I? Walter lost his cool. Not sure. An unexpected voice came from the chapel's back. All heads turned as Miss Abigail approached, Your Honor. Grace in her arms, Lucy a determined shadow. Mrs. Carson, the court admitted, this is an official proceeding and I have official testimony. As midwife to half the county and witness to the child's birth, Miss Abigail replied crisply. Judge Parker signaled her to proceed. Miss Abigail stared at Walter intently. Mr. Winters, where were you when your daughter was born? Walter shifted uncomfortably. I was sick. Miss Abigail pointed out that you were drunk in town when your wife labored in a blizzard and your child breathed her first breath without her father for company. She approached Walter, turning Grace to show him his daughter's face. The only thing this child has experienced from you is rejection. Before she was born, Walter glanced at the infant with a confused and sorrowful expression. Miss Abigail added softly that Grace Winters deserves better than to be a pride pawn. If you care about her, you know what to do. A somber hush permeated the chapel. Emma held her breath as Walter's internal conflict played out on his face. Your Honor, I'd like to revise my petition, he told Judge Parker. Emma felt Ethan tighten next her. Walter continued slowly without detention. I only want occasional visits with my daughter. The audience gasped and whispered. Emma looked at Walter in surprise, searching for the reason for this sudden change. Leaning forward, Judge Parker, you're giving up parental rights? Walter swallowed hard, Mr. Winters. Yes, I'll sign the paperwork if Mrs. Winters and Mr. Hayes allow periodic visits. Emma muttered, astonished by this sudden capitulation, Walter. Why? Because Miss Abigail's right. He looked at her directly, more honest than in years. Grace should not be leveraged. He looked at Ethan. Her father wants her, and her home is lovely. I won't pull that apart for pride. Emma was brought to tears. This view of Walter may have moved her in different circumstances. After that, Judge Parker had Sheriff Tate testify while Walter signed papers waiving his paternal rights and establishing limited visitation with Emma and Ethan's permission, ending proceedings quickly. Emma and Walter were alone near the chapel door as the townspeople prepared for the Christmas social. "Just thank you," she said. Walter nodded, surprised by his modesty. "I meant to change. Unfortunately, the ship has departed, now I see." His attention moved to Ethan with Grace and Lucy. "I may yet become someone my daughter won't feel embarrassed of." "Walter, may you find peace," Emma replied, astonished by her meaning. He bid farewell by touching his cap. "Be joyful, Emma. You deserve it." Emma felt a weight lift from her shoulders as Walter left in the bright winter morning, leaving the last of their tumultuous past. Emma made her vows 2 hours later, standing before Reverend Collins with Ethan's calm hand on hers, out of hope, not obligation or thanks. This practical marriage now promised more. Respect becoming affection, friendship becoming love. "You're married now." As Christmas bells rang over Blackwater Creek, Reverend Collins said, the kiss was delicate and reassuring, not claiming. Emma felt Lucy put a small hand in hers as they faced the well-wishers, while Ethan, cradling Grace, stood steadfast. A family formed by choice, worth more than the $1 that started her adventure. Snow turned into streams, and tiny green sprouts sprang from frozen soil in Montana in spring. In the increased garden, seedlings stretched towards sunlight, chicks peeped in the coop, and calves wobbled near their moms in the little meadow Ethan had fenced in winter on the Hayes property. Lucy guided Grace's first hesitant steps across the yard as Emma watched from the porch. Grace, 5 months, insisted on walking before crawling, pulling herself up whenever possible. Lucy, now 6 and passionate about being big sister, encouraged patience endlessly. Like her mother, Ethan stood by Emma, determined to do things her way. The nonchalant praise warmed Emma. They had a comfortable rhythm built on mutual respect that got more affectionate over time after months of marriage. Ethan was shy and expressed his sentiments through actions. Emma understood his care language: coffee made before she awakened, a wildflower on her pillow, and fingers lightly touching hers when sharing salt at dinner. Lucy called the Petersons' wagon, pointing down the long drive where dust rose behind approaching wheels. Emma covered her eyes from the April sun. Mrs. Peterson must be delivering her seedlings. As the wagon approached, she saw it was carrying Walter, not Mrs. Peterson, sitting next to young Jim Peterson, who led. Her body tightened automatically, but without the fear of her ex-husband. Walter had only visited twice since the Christmas Eve ceremony, maintaining a rigid demeanor while speaking awkwardly. Emma wondered if he would lose this tentative connection to his daughter when each visit ended with relief on all sides. He was again climbing out of the wagon with a heavy wooden thing under his arm. Ethan leaned delicately toward Emma, a protective motion she loved but knew was unnecessary. Walter approached. Unlike the frantic man who had threatened to take Grace, working in Peterson's mill had filled up his lean body, and his clear eyes and steady step showed sobriety. "Mrs. Hayes," Walter formally welcomed Emma and bowed to Ethan. "Winters Hayes," Ethan answered evenly. Walter moved the wooden thing unexpectedly. Emma noticed a cradle with elaborate engravings on its sides. Thought Grace could use this after finishing at the mill yesterday. Grace in her arms, Lucy approached warily. "You made it?" she queried Walter, curious despite her typical fatigue. "I did," Walter spoke with pride. "Old Peterson teaches me woodworking. Discovered my talent." Emma admiringly examined the cradle. Beautiful craftsmanship. Curved headboard with rose carvings, fully balanced rockers, sanded edges all around. "Beautiful," she said, "but Grace has nearly outgrown her crib." Walter conceded. Perhaps, he thought, looking at Ethan, it may come in handy again. An innuendo lingered between them. Emma's cheeks warmed when Ethan touched her back, a modest hint that neither affirmed nor denied. Ethan murmured, "Thank you," reaching to inspect the cradle. "Good craftsmanship." The men carried the cradle inside while Emma made coffee. She finds the domestic scene weird, her ex-husband and current one politely interacting. Lucy asked Walter woodworking questions, which he answered patiently. Walter watched Grace toddle between Emma and Lucy in the yard before leaving with Jim Peterson. "She has your eyes and determination," he said. Emma said, "But your chin," shocking herself. That stubborn chin is Winter's. Walter grinned faintly. Poor kid. He looked more serious. Heading west. Country, Oregon. Mills assigning me to negotiate timber contracts with settlements. Emma, that's a long trip. When will you return? Walter admitted it might not. And Peterson's given me a permanent job managing Pacific operations. Good chance. Emma began to understand. This was parting present. Walter nodded again at Grace. Her home is good. Her loving father. In my presence, things would get worse. His shoulders straightened. Sometimes a man should step back for his child. Emma was stunned by the revelation, so unlike Walter. She eventually said she'd know you. Later, I'll inform her about her birth father, how he handcrafted this lovely cradle. Walter quietly murmured, "Tell her I'm sorry," selling what should have been priceless at auction. Emma's closure came like the cottonwood's tender green leaves as Jim Peterson's wagon went down the long drive. Her prior wounds had scarred, becoming part of her tale rather than defining it. Emma watched the first stars on the deck with Ethan after the kids went to bed. Her shoulders touched his on the bench he made in the winter evenings without speaking. She stated Walter's gift was kind following a pleasant stillness. Ethan nods. Man's changed. People can, Emma said. Her thoughts turned to her own metamorphosis with the right circumstances and assistance. From homeless lady on an auction block to respected wife, mother, and participant in this successful homestead. It started with humiliation but ended with dignity. Emma carefully considered his suggestion that the cradle might be used again. Did that bother you? Ethan faced her, contemplative in the dusk. Troubled? No. He clasped her hand with calloused fingers. But it highlighted a question I've been meaning to ask. Emma's pulse accelerated. Which query? We married out of need, Ethan answered quietly. Your safety and grace. Mother for Lucy. Realistic issues. Emma accepted, unsure of the outcome. Over the previous few months, he stopped searching for words. I find them more than useful. Emma felt warm with the simple admission. I saw Ethan's thumb make soft circles on her palm. How would you feel if we had a child out of love, not necessity? Love. Instead of sounding awkward, he said it naturally. They named the feeling that had grown between them throughout winter's intimate evenings and spring's shared labors. Emma said she would embrace it tenderly, born by decision, not chance. A child unfamiliar with auction blocks and money signs, Ethan leaned forward and softly touched her forehead. Love you, Emma Hayes. Not because you raise my daughter or keep my home, but because you are. You're strong, your goodness, your drive. Emma whispered, I adore you. Words that felt natural and significant. Not because you saved me, but because you saw my value when others didn't. This kiss was deeper than any before. Not the wedding ceremony seal or the peaceful goodnight of habit, but a sincere communion of hearts that had found each other despite doubts. Grace's cradle waited in the cabin. It's a gift from a dying parent and a promise of a family growing in love and purpose. 1 year previously, Emma stood on an auction block, her worth reduced to a painted sign and financial sum. Now she sat under Montana stars. Love freely given and received defines her worth. Children thriving under her care. Respectful cooperation that blossoms into devotion. Treasures like this are impossible to value. They were worthless, as she always was.